Hi everyone, it's Lindy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk to you about how exactly I process pallets and the basics of receiving liquidation. So I've shown you guys these massive pallets that I get, and I know that that's really intimidating a lot of the times. You know, I hear from you guys talking about, oh my gosh, that's a lot of stuff. How in the world do you deal with that much merchandise and keep your sanity? Well, it took a little bit for me to kind of get the hang of it, because when you get these massive pallets, you end up with hundreds or thousands of items all at once. So it's really hard to know exactly how to go about the listing process with them, because there's just so much stuff. It's like, do I list the most valuable stuff first? Do I just start listing what's on top? What do I do if I have multiples of the same item? What do I do if something has leaked or if something is broken? You know, there's just so many factors with liquidation when you're doing large quantities of goods at once. So I wanted to make a video showing you exactly my thought process during processing and my actual pallet processing process. Is that how you would say it? My pallet processing process? Maybe? My entire process for processing pallets. So now typically whenever you order a pallet in liquidation, wholesale, new overstock, basically any sort of pallet of goods, it's gonna come one of two ways most of the time. So it's either going to come with one wood pallet with a whole bunch of multiple boxes on top of it, or it's going to come in a Gaylord, which is what these are right here. So the difference is a Gaylord is just one giant box versus one wooden pallet with multiple smaller boxes on top of it. So I do receive pallets both ways, but I will say that it is much easier to process a pallet that has lots of little boxes as opposed to a giant Gaylord for multiple different reasons. The main one being it's a lot less intimidating. When you have one pallet with a whole bunch of little boxes on it, you can simply open one box at a time and you don't as easily get overwhelmed. But when you look into one of these suckers and you see hundreds or thousands of items staring up at you, it's easy to have a little mini panic attack, and you ultimately start thinking, how in the heck am I going to list all this? Where am I going to put it? Is it worth anything? I don't know where to start. You start thinking about all of these things when you look at a giant Gaylord. So I actually decided to do a Gaylord with you guys, since that is the more intimidating of the two ways of receiving pallets. This last week I received 4 Gaylords. I've already gone through 2.5 of them. I have a half full one behind me over here, and then I have a full one over here. Now these are about half size Gaylords. They're not the full 5, 6, 7 foot Gaylords, because these are HBA pallets, and I did buy these from Via Trading. As always, I do have my Via Trading coupon code that's still active. It gets you $50 off if you want to shop with Via Trading using my name as a code, Lindy, or the link down below if you want to use it. It's just my gift to you if you want to go shopping and try liquidation yourself. Now do keep in mind that HBA pallets from Via Trading are very few and far between, but my coupon code will work on anything that they have. So while I'm sorting, I am actually separating things into 5 separate boxes. And while 5 does sound like a lot of separating, it really isn't. And once you get going in the process, it's quite obvious where things are gonna go once you start doing it over and over again. So the first box is for everything that is going to be going online. So I'll basically just pull an item out, and if it's gonna be going online, and I know right off the top of my head, I'm gonna be listing these Oral-B electric toothbrush heads online, they're going to go in the online box. The second kind of box is online, but it is replenished stock. So these, for instance, I just pulled out of one of the pallets. I already know that I've listed this before, so I know it's going online, but I'm going to put it in a different online box because this is just going to be replenished. This is not an item that I'm going to have to create a brand new listing for, or I'm not going to have to take brand new photographs of it. I know that I already have an active listing in eBay, so I just basically need to go in and add a quantity of one for this item. So that's the second kind of box that I separate. So now when you're sorting like this, you do need to have a fairly decent memory, which I do have a very good memory. I tend to remember seeing things and recognizing if I've already done something with them before. So most of the time I can look in a big Gaylord like this and I can automatically pick out the things I know I've already listed or things that are extremely similar to what I have listed. Maybe it's a type of lipstick that's just a different shade, or maybe it is a certain kind of drink mix, but just another flavor. Like, I can pick them out and I can just instantly right off the top just start snatching up the items that I recognize and put in that second box. And then what I do is, if I ever need to list things really fast, I just basically grab the box that has everything that just needs stock replenished, and it allows me to increase quantity of listings and reactivate old listings that might have sold out very, very quickly, because I will have an entire box that is items that are already on eBay. They just need to either be revised and made the listing new again, or just have a quantity added to them in a current active listing. So I love having those items separate, because if I have a really super busy day and I want some activity in my eBay store and I want to replenish some items really fast, I know I have an entire box that is just replenishables, and I'm not going to have to take any pictures or do any new listings. The third box that I have is for local sales. So something that I am sure you have already figured out if you do liquidation at all is that not everything is good for online. I mean, it's true. Rarely do you ever get a liquidation lot where every single item in it is going to be perfect for online sales. And even if you can sell it online, it might not be worth your time. Like this item here. This is it's a little girl's bath bomb fizzy kit, and you could see here there's a price tag on it of $5. So something like this is really not worth listing online. Even if I have a lot of them, even if I have, say, 5 of them, I might be able to sell 5 for $20 on eBay, but because of the size of it and the cost to ship it, it's just not going to be worth my time. So something like this I'm going to put in the third box, and I'm just going to sell it locally, either on Facebook Marketplace, or I'll just sell it at a yard sale. And basically whenever I do this, I'm selling for at or a little bit above my cost, basically just to get my money back and get some cash flow back into my business. Usually the items that I sell locally like this, these are not going to be the items that I make a huge profit on. It's just basically helping my bottom line to keep my money rolling. The fourth box that I have is leaks, leaky items. So if you are dealing with HBA pallets or household pallets, you might come across leakage. Of course, not every kind of liquidation is going to have items that have potential leakage, but in these kind of pallets, I get them a lot. I usually have over the course of maybe one shipment of 3 or 4 pallets, I will have 1, maybe 2 bins full of items like this. Luckily, everything is individually bagged, so it very rarely leaks over anything else. It's just leaking over itself. So I know for a fact that this item is still okay to sell. So you can see There is a lot of leakage. So it would be too much for me to sell online, because online I don't want to sell something that's less than full. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick items like this in box number 4, and I'm basically just going to open up the bags and rinse everything off in my bathtub, and then I'll sell it locally. So something like this, for example, I don't know if you can see it in the bag, but it is Dove Coconut Hydration Conditioner. So this is a really expensive large bottle of Dove conditioner. At the store, this is around $6, $7, maybe even $8. Something like this, I would sell locally for $1 just to get my money back. And it's gonna be obvious to my local buyers when they pick it up that it might not be completely full. Granted, I can feel right now, this is still really heavy. This still has a lot of conditioner in it. So I can't really justify selling it online because it has leaked, but I can sell it locally to somebody for $1, and they would really appreciate getting such a nice discount, even though the bottle is a little less than full. And my local buyers don't mind that. I just let them know, hey, some of these items might not be completely full. They might have leaked a little bit. And once they find that out and they appreciate how honest I am that everything's not full, they have no problem paying $1 for something like this. They don't care that it has leaked and I've rinsed it off. It's not a big deal. But this I would not consider garbage unless the bottle was completely empty. If the bottle was completely empty, then I would probably just throw it away and not even bother washing it off. But because I feel that there's still so much in here, I'll just stick it in box number 4, and I'll just rinse it off and sell it local for $1. Sorry, got distracted. It's a little Caboodles compact. How cute is that? There's like 10 in here. They're all pink and purple. Ooh, what? There's one for the blooper reel. And then the 5th kind of bin that I separate things into is garbage. The stuff that I absolutely positively cannot sell, which if you're buying liquidation, it's going to happen. It's a part of life. You have to expect that a percentage of your liquidation is going to be garbage. It's not that the liquidation company is screwing you over or that they're a bad company. It's just a part of liquidation. Stuff like this really disappoints me because this is the 4th one that I've gotten in these lots, and none of them are sellable. None of them. But these are customer returns, so I can't exactly expect that something like this is going to be in brand new condition. So the reason why this is garbage, aside from the fact that you could tell that it's opened, so stuff like this goes in somebody's mouth. Okay, this is a dental guard. This is a dental guard. And if it has been opened and it looks like people have had their fingers on it, I'm not going to sell it to somebody to put in their mouth. I'm not gonna do that. So basically I can see that one of the dental pieces is missing and I can't sell it. So I just am going to throw it away. I cannot salvage it. I cannot sell it locally. It's just going straight into the trash, which is a real disappointment because I know that I could flip this for an easy $20 if it wasn't open. That kind of breaks your heart a little bit. This is something else that is a part of liquidation that's very disappointing. Yeah, that was the only thing in the box. It was the directions. This did not come out of these pallets, but I held this to show you because I was so angry about it. This came in another liquidation that I had, not via trading, but I saw this on the manifest and I got really excited because this is worth really good money and the freaking box was empty. But it's customer returns. It's a part of liquidation. I have nobody that I can be mad at except for the original customer that returned an empty box to the freaking store. Oh yeah, don't forget to wear gloves because it all smells very good, but stuff leaks. So make sure to wear gloves. Just wipe that right there. Okay, so something else that I take into consideration when I'm breaking down a pallet and deciding whether or not something's going to be sold online or locally is I consider what my buyer is going to think when receiving the item. So that means quality control and how the item physically looks. So I just pulled this out of the pallet. It's a Burt's Bees Shea Butter Hand Repair Cream with cocoa butter and sesame oil. So this box looks really, really nice. There's no damage done to it at all. So this I would definitely sell online without thinking twice about it. This box here, on the other hand, this very clearly has damage on it, right? It very clearly has damage on it. So basically I would look here and it opens, there's no seal. If it had a seal, I would not open it. And I basically look inside. I look at the item. It's clearly not used. It's in really nice shape. So I would go ahead and list this, even though the box is damaged, because the contents inside, it's very, very clear that the item is unused. And I would basically just try to mold the box back as easy as I could, and I would just list that the item had a damaged box. I would also photograph the item outside the box so that the buyer themselves could actually see that the item is undamaged and it's just the box that has damage done to it, because people aren't using the box. The box is just a vessel for holding the inside. So as long as the inside bottle is fine, I don't have a problem selling a box like this. And the reason why I say think like a buyer is how would you feel if you received the box looking the way it does. So if I can take the box and I can mold it and it looks okay, then I'll go ahead and include the box. But if the box were just, if it were maybe wet, like maybe there's something had leaked inside the pallet and it was just a little bit wet, but inside this item was perfectly fine, I would consider ditching the box and just selling this and saying that there was no box that went with it. So think like a buyer. You know, if you have a really nasty box and you think to yourself, if I received this from a seller, how would I feel? And you would be disappointed, then just sell the item that's inside as long as it's unused. So that is something else that I consider, because the box doesn't really matter so much, it's the contents. So for example, something like this, these are just dryer sheets, and I'm not sure if you can even really tell so great on camera, but this box, I would not want to sell this box in this condition online. So it's very clear that somebody took clear packing tape and they just wrapped it around with clear packing tape. The box itself is pretty smashed in. Oh, there's something sticky on it. So this, I would actually just wipe down and sell local. I would not sell this on eBay. Even if it were worth like $10 for a box of dryer sheets, I wouldn't sell it on eBay just because of the condition of the box. So that is something else that I take into consideration when I am sorting, is if I were the buyer and I were receiving it, how would I feel about the condition it arrives in? And I would basically just try to mold broken boxes or remove boxes entirely, or just sell something local like this if it wouldn't look good arriving to a buyer. So then after I get the entire pallet broke down into the individual grouped boxes, then I just start working by groups. So anything that is going to be sold locally, I will just store in the garage on the shelves that are behind me. I will just store them and wait for the opportunity for a yard sale or for whenever I post things on Marketplace. Now, if there's something that maybe needs to be kept inside because of shelf stability, like gummy vitamins, supplements, tubes of lipstick, things like that, then I will go ahead and store them in my basement with the other merchandise that I sell. But if not, I just leave them in the garage. That way they are nice and separate and I know what purpose they serve. The items that need to be washed off, I'll just go ahead and set them in the hallway just inside my inside my garage door. And whenever I do have a free time, I'll just open everything, dump it in the bathtub, and I'll just rinse and dry them all. And most of the time, those kind of items are going to end up being sold locally because they have leaked. So when that happens, I will just put them in a box and stick them back in the garage with the other items that are getting sold local. The box of items that are replenishables that are already active on eBay, I will just go ahead and move those into the great room of my house where I do most of my listing, and I will just kind of tuck them away into a corner, and I'll just grab from there anytime I need to do some work on eBay and I don't have a lot of time. If I know that, oh my gosh, I haven't listed anything today, I need to do something, I need to replenish some stock, I'll just grab a few items out of there and do that really fast, and then put those in the bin to be inventoried. And then that's a really super fast way that I can get some activity in my eBay store and get some new items available for sale. And then of course the big one, the items that I intend to list on eBay, those I will store in my basement, and I will bring upstairs into my great room one bin at a time whenever I am ready to list. But in the basement first, I will go through and I will sort all of the identical items and put them all grouped together. Usually I have maybe 8 to 10 bins full of items, just depending on how many liquidation pallets I received. And I'll go through, sometimes my husband will help me, and it's very, very nice when he does that because it definitely speeds up the process. But what I will do is I will use my memory, and anything that I recall seeing more than one of, I will set to one side, and anything that I know that there's only one, I'll go ahead and stick in a bin of singles. So then what ends up happening is I will have 1 or 2 bins full of items that only have singles, and then I'll have a whole bunch of little piles of similar identical items. Then I will basically put the set of identical items in the bins together so that when I go to list, all of the identical items are already in a group, so that from there I can decide if I want to list them on eBay as a lot, or if I'm going to do a single listing with a multiple quantity. And I don't decide that until I actually get to my listing process. So when I sit down to list, I will look up what sold comps there are, and I will see what the current competition is doing. So if the current competition is selling singles for X amount of dollars, but some people have been selling it, 2 or 3 lots for X amount of dollars, I'll make the determination of whether or not I want to sell a lot or a single just based on what everybody else is doing at the time. So what I have found is that by processing pallets this way, it becomes a lot less intimidating, because rather than keeping things in a giant gaylord like this and just taking items off the top to list one at a time and it never looking like the bin goes down, what ends up happening is you end up with strategic bins. So you have a couple of bins that need to be sold locally at a yard sale or on Facebook Marketplace. Then you have maybe half of a bin that you're gonna keep for yourself, if you know what I mean. And then you have a couple of bins that are getting listed on eBay. And you can divide those bins into even smaller boxes if you want to, just to minimize the stress and intimidation of the quantity. So if you have a really big box that is just full of maybe 200 or 300 items, small items obviously, then you can basically take teeny tiny little boxes. I'm trying to see if I have an example. Then you can take a much smaller box and you can put items in there to make it look like you have less to list than you actually do. So it's not so scary. Whenever I get pallets like this, I never ever ever just take stuff off the top and list. That is not how I do it. I do not start listing until the entire pallet is gone. The entire pallet. Not just the entire pallet, but the entire order of pallets. Like I said, I had gotten 4 of these pallets and I have already gone through 2.5 of them. I do not list anything until I go through the entire order of pallets, because there very well could be duplicates in both of these pallets. So if I go to the trouble of listing items in this pallet, there might have been multiple quantities that I could have lotted up, or there might have been something better in this pallet. So I do sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes when I'm going through the sorting process in my basement, sometimes I will go ahead and do a bin of items that I know I want to list immediately. Those are items that have a much higher value, and I will sometimes do that. I might, group some items together. I might put some lower dollar items in one bin because I told myself that I was not going to have any more death piles, and I've been doing a really good job at it. But, sometimes I will have a box full of the lower end items that are kind of on the back burner. Like, I really don't want to spend, a lot of precious time listing stuff that's $8 and free shipping. I would rather list the $30, $40, or $50 items. So I will go ahead and while I'm sorting, I will put the things that I want to list the most urgently because they're worth the most money in one bin, and then the multiple quantity items in their bins, and then basically the back burner bin whenever I am sorting. So whenever I do go to list, I always grab the high dollar bin first because that's going to be the fastest way I can start getting money back from the liquidation pallet that I had purchased. All right, you guys, I hope that I covered everything and I answered a whole bunch of questions that you guys had about how exactly I process these giant liquidation pallets. If you have any more questions or comments, feel free to put them down in the comments below. Please do give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, that way that I know. Don't forget to check the video description. I will put some useful information down there, and please do feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see more content. And I'll see you guys with my next video. Bye.